everybody, welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various type of wind here for the Highlands tournament in Golf Clash the game. The video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel button you have in the bottom right corner. Also visit golfclashtommy.com if you want to take a look at the green or point from the front tee, or maybe you want to take a look at something else. We have everything there for free. You can also get the tour and tournament text guides that is the best on the market by going to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Link to Patreon is directly in the description down below. Follow the info box on the right hand side for elevation adjustment, also club distance information if you're gonna play max, mid or min, also what type of ball or club type I do suggest for you to play with for the specific holes in this playthrough. Have in mind that you don't have to follow what I suggest, but there's always a plan behind it. And if you're concerned or you wonder something, you can always ask, and that you do in the comment section below, or you send us an email to support@golfclashtommy.com. In the end though, let's freaking go to hole number 1. Here for hole number 1, you're gonna see two type of play. First, we're gonna see a sniper play where I unfortunately do hit great, which obviously is going to affect this shot pretty massively. I use, in this case, a lot of side spin to the right. I'm going 3 bars of side spin. Also, in this case, using 1 bar of backspin. We're gonna lighten up the backspin a little bit though, as we do not need the full bar there. So we're gonna go with half a bar of backspin, 3 bars of side spin to the right, blue ring by the rough line, and then ball guideline kind of pointing towards the hole. Now I'm going to adjust for a maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment with our sniper, and then obviously we're going to release. Unfortunately now, you can see that I hit a pretty bad grade. It's like a double grade right, which obviously, especially when it's in the wind, this ball is going to go to the right. Speed-wise though, I'm okay with that. Obviously, we need a little bit more, but with a perfect ball, we would be going almost right at pin, in my opinion, depending on, everything can happen. Right at pin, and also be gaining a little bit more distance. We could consider to go with just a click of backspin when we have an angle tailwind, where when in the tailwind, you could consider going with half a bar of backspin just to tweak that one just a little bit. So for alternative number 2, it's going to be a rough bump, and here I would strongly recommend you to play with a quarterback or the rock, because the rough bump here would definitely be good when it comes to having a good accuracy and a good ball guideline. Sure, the XMI11.9 will do the trick. I'm using 2 bars of backspin, 2 bars of side spin to the left. And the ultimate here would obviously to have 3 bars of left spin, be able to move more right, so we are not going to play that close to the bunker. And also, in the best of the worlds, we should have played this one with approximately 1.5 bar backspin with more or less a direct headwind. If we do have a more direct southwest or southeast wind, 2 bars of backspin would be good. But now we do need a little bit more distance here to get the ball towards the pin. A little bit of an under adjustment as well, and it's very important that you do play this shot maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. And once again, quarterback or the rock will be the superior clubs for this rough bump, and I do strongly believe that the rough bump will bring more hole-in-ones than playing with the sniper. For hole number 2, we're gonna see 2 versions. One where we're gonna play a more conservative way, which is going to be applied when we do have any form of headwind, because if we do not have any, like a direct crosswind or any form of tailwind, we cannot risk going over the water, as we will then risk going into the water directly. So then we're gonna lay up. So the thing that I'm gonna look for doing is either to have the ball to bounce into the rough and roll out, or to just bounce over the rough and just land on the fairway. Both of the alternatives will have the ball landing on the fairway, so don't be alarmed of, if you're accidentally clipping the rough like I do there. I'm using somewhere between 3 to 5 bars of topspin depending on wind angle, and then adjustment is maximum distance with a 15% over adjustments. Even though we're not in maximum distance, I still use maximum distance numbers. And you can use basically whatever driver there except for the quarterback, as it does not really have the power that is needed if we do have a direct headwind. Second shot is going to be you know, with a thorn or a hornet, or like, let's say like this, it's gonna be with a short iron. So if you want to play with a different short iron, do so. I don't mind. You should play with the one that you feel the most comfortable with. We are many of the times going to be in medium distance of our club. That's why that is suggested in the info box. But if we clip the rough and roll short, we're going to find ourselves being in maximum distance of our club instead. It could also be that if we roll very far and also a lot to the right on this fairway platform, then we're going to be in minimum distance. So with that said, I would like you to really just check your club distance and make sure that you are in the distance that that you are adjusting for. Here we needed a little bit more, as you know, missing there to the left definitely means that it was a slight under adjustment. So, but that is the conservative way. How do we do if we're gonna go for green? And that is what I'm gonna show you now. So if we do have any form of tailwind or a direct crosswind, we are going to go for green. 6 bars of top spin, 2 bars of side spin to the left. I stretch out so I can see the ball guideline pointing directly at the pin. Then I release, and I'm then going to adjust for a maximum distance with a 15% over adjustment. I will push up my club into max, and now it comes to overpower. And here it's very important for you to try to estimate the overpower that you are going to use. And that's why we need to stretch out our club into the position that we're looking for, meaning that we add spin, we stretch out our club, boom, by the way, and then we are going to look for the second bounce to be just in the center of the rough. We're gonna take it again so you can see. So we add spin, 6 top, we stretch out, and we see the second bounce to be into the rough there in the center, ball guideline to the hole. Then we know that we are in absolute maximum distance. But as we do have a little tailwind, we need to have that in mind as well. And instead of using max overpower as we would have if it would be a direct crosswind, then we reduce a little bit and go with, in that case, 4.5 rings of overpower instead of max. But the overpower will once again be different, and to help yourself with that, use a power 4 or a power 5 ball to help you get more distance, and therefore you might going to, in a direct tailwind or like a straight tailwind, you might going to survive by not using any overpower at all and just use the wind to your favor. But in the end though, always check, always estimate, and make sure that you are focused, because if we do have tailwind in tour play or in tournament play, we need an eagle on this hole. It's not every day we get a par 4 hole in one, but that felt extremely nice. So, hole number 3 has got through a change, and now we cannot just sit by and just lay up short as we normally do. We normally just lay up on the top right of the fairway. Now we do need to try to push this ball to be as close to the top of the rough possible. And the reason we want to do that is because we do want to find ourselves in having 2 alternatives for the second shot. One is going to be, you know, just a normal bouncing shot to the pin, and one is going to be a rough bump. But the rough bump is going to be very difficult and not going to be possible if you find yourself being short with your drive. 6 bars of top spin, 2 bars of side spin to the left. I'm also going half a ball of curl and a tiny bit of overpower. The overpower is definitely something that you will have to judge, and I would obviously see us having, if we do have a direct headwind, it's going to be difficult for us to you know, push this drive harder than what we are doing now, because now the risk of going into the rough when we have to force our drive in a much tougher way, it will be much easier to get into the rough, which obviously will destroy this this hole for us completely. Because before, if we reached into the rough, we had no issues reaching for the pin in 2, because then we had, where we do have our sniper now was basically where we had the pin before. So we have got a lot more yardage to cover this go around. And you can see that even if we have a sniper level 10 and a power 3 ball, I'm nowhere close to be able to use the rough bump. So I'm going to leave the ball guideline a little short, a little bit too conservative there in my opinion. We need to have at least, you know, 1 or 2 green squares before the pin, not 5 as I'm having here. Adjustment, maximum distance with a 20% over adjustment, because we're playing this shot downhill pretty massively. And I think that that is also one big change here on this hole. It's like before we played this shot uphill and we went for that rough bump. Now when we're playing towards the pin, we need a 20% over adjustment to cover the downhill that we're going to have this time. The reason I do add the Cataclysm as a suggestion in the info box is that if we do have a crosswind or a tailwind, and we do want to go to the rough bump for the second shot, we should consider playing with a club with more power to be able to reach for that rough bump, so that would be easier. But in the end though, if we don't have a ball guideline to play with, which we do have with the sniper, then I don't know really what's going to be the best. That's up to you to decide. And obviously if you do have the possibility to play with anything else than free to play balls like power 4 or power 5 balls, that would also be yeah, that could be a scenario as well to be able to play the rough bump with your sniper. But in the end, hole number 3 with a complete remake since before, which has made this hole much harder, and now this is actually going to be a very tough albatross and actually a tough eagle with headwind. So let's take a look at the drive first and foremost. When we do have a crosswind in this on this hole, I would consider playing on the left hand side. This because playing on the right to just lay up will be a massive trouble for us when trying to approach the pin for an eagle. So I'm gonna go left, 2.5 bar topspin, 1 bar of left spin, stretch out so you see the second bounce to be just above the rough there. And then we adjust maximum distance plus 10. Have in mind that when you do play with a driver that is a lower level than XMI level 9, like XMI level 7, 6 or something like that, I would however recommend to go with 3 to 3.5 bar topspin to compensate for the less power you have on your driver. Go with max overpower if you have the possibility and make sure you hit perfect. You can also see that I added a click of curl to the left there. That's because I do wanted to compensate for the massive push that we're going to have from that wind coming left to right. Obviously you don't have to use curl if you don't want to. You can apply a bit more side spin as well, which will work this in the same way for you. Second shot, we're going to play with a long iron, and here we do have the Goliath. I'm using max backspin here, and you can see that we do have room on the fairway for playing with a Goliath with less backspin than the Goliath level 9. So don't be blind by looking at the level of that club. This is to demonstrate how I would like us to play it from that direction. So that could mean that sometimes we play with a Saturn, sometimes maybe even go to the backbone, if we do not have a club with at least 4 or 5 bars backspin. The reason I do add the thorn in the info box, and also when it comes to you know, the reason and the thing that comes to is that if we do have a tailwind, I would recommend to play on the right side of the fairway, go max overpower, max topspin, max left spin, and also go with 1 ball of curl left and just go full blast, trying to bounce over to the end of the fairway, which is going to be a short iron towards the pin, which is obviously going to make the opportunity for an eagle much better than when we do have to lay up on the left or on the right. If we do have a headwind, we need to lay up on the right, and then we're gonna just play a wood club towards the pin. So many different ways here in this hole, and unfortunately I can't provide more than just one way here in this one, but I would recommend to read the text guide if you do want to see an idea on how to play it with other type of wind if you're new to this specific hole. So here you will see one approach from the right side and one from the left. If we do have any form of headwind here, I would, however, recommend to play with a driver always, because tailwind we will be in between clubs with our wood club, and that's going to be very difficult. Here I would like us to play with 5 bars of backspin. So in my opinion, it's going to be the quarterback that is going to be the best club to play. If you do have a very low level quarterback and doesn't have that many bars of backspin, the rocket could be even better. And the reason I play with an extra mile is due to me going into shootout with that club. Rest on the min distance line, adjust minimum distance plus 20, and here I did pull back 1 ring after my adjustment, and the reason I did that was due to the fact that I do have that I did and have enough backspin in my opinion. So I'm used 2 left spin, I use 4.5 bar backspin, but the thing that I would like to do is 5.5 backspin, 3 bars of left spin is what I would like to do. Sometimes, depending on wind, obviously 2 bars of left spin or like 1 bar of left spin will be better, but I do think that 3 bars of left spin per default is going to be better for us to play with. That's why I suggest a Kingmaker or a Katana. Going from the left side, and now we do have a headwind again, and that's going to be the same type of structure. Resting on the mid line, and here I unfortunately only have a navigator as a side spin 1 ball. Here we desperately need more side spin, and that's why I went over to the right side, because I couldn't really decide which way is going to be better. But the right side we need more backspin, the left side we don't really need as much backspin as we do have on the right side. But once again, the quarterback will be at the superior one here in any form of headwind to be able to play minimum distance of club and attack the pin in that way. 3 bars of right spin, adjustment, minimum distance plus 20. Here I do the same. I adjust minimum distance plus 20, then I pull back. Going half a ball of curl when only having 1 bar of right spin. And you're going to notice here that this ball is going to come in speed-wise pretty okay. Need a little bit less backspin though. You know, direction-wise, we were definitely on target if we would be having a little bit more speed. So like a 2 bars of backspin would actually be fine there. If we do have a tailwind, I would recommend to play with a sniper, and then we do that before the bunker on the left-hand side. So we're gonna put that one up again. You see the bunker that is, or not really on the left, but the bunker that is there to the northeast of our target that we have now. That bunker is that we do want to bounce over, and we bounce on the fairway that is just below. That's going to be the spot with tailwind, and I would recommend the power 3 ball so we don't go in between clubs with our sniper. But this is definitely, after the new changes, way more difficult than the last version of this hole. So it's going to be very interesting to see if we can continuously hit this one close and maybe get some hole-in-ones. So let's start off with the drive here, and here I would however recommend you to play with a different club than the quarterback as a general basis. And the reason for that is that with a headwind especially, you will not be able to reach to the spot that we are looking for. Here I'm playing with the quarterback level 10, and we do have a tailwind, and I'm looking to be, you know, as high with my target as the brown tree, as you can see there by the green trees there on the right. That's kind of my starting point, and I want to be close to the right, using max side spin to the right, and I also want us to play with 5 bars of top spin if possible. If we do have a headwind, I would recommend to go even up as long as 7 bars of top spin, but in headwind you will also have to apply overpower most likely. 20% over adjustment when playing maximum distance numbers, even though we're not gonna be in complete maximum distance. Second shot, I'm gonna play this one on the left. I play this route on the left here because I do not really believe in having a much better chance trying to lay up and go through the tree. At least in my book, that's not really going to be a superior way to get the albatross. So now I'm going to try to just get it to green by using curling around the trees, taking a very safe route with a very little chance for the albatross, but the chance is still going to be there. I'm using 1 bar of topspin in general in headwind, and if we do have a crosswind or a tailwind, I would use no top or backspin in crosswind, and then half a bar to 1 bar of backspin in tailwind. Always max side spin to the right, and then we apply overpower if needed. The thing that I would recommend you to do is to always go with a power 3 ball here, as you don't want to find yourself in a way here that you play with a sniper, you get a headwind for the second shot, and you have a power 2 ball, then you're gonna most definitely play max overpower, and then it's always going to be a bit risky when going max overpower. No elevation for the second shot in my opinion, and then you're gonna be on green for a safe and nice eagle putt. So we take a look at hole number 7, which also in players term is called NASCAR, and that's because we're going to try to catch not the speed roll, but the roll there on the fairway, roll into the green, fall down towards the pin. Here I'm looking for my target to be very close to aligned with the bunker on the right. That's kind of my target. I want it to be just before. Using 1 bar of top spin, 2 bars of right spin, then we are apply a tiny bit of curl, meaning we go right side of the ball to be just outside the adjustment ring to the right. The plan we're looking for here is to get the ball to roll as basically as close to the rough possible and take that curve and roll up on the fairway above the fringe to then fall down in the correct place to then get to an hole-in-one. Sure, you will always be kind of close here, but getting it within 1 yard every time is going to be something that is going to be difficult, and that's going to mean that you're going to win this hole in tour play basically every single time. In tournament play, obviously, we are going to focus on playing with the quarterback or even with the rock to give ourselves a better accuracy and a better ball guideline, but obviously we cannot do that in tour play as we won't be playing with those clubs all the time. Side spin 3 ball is valuable here, as especially we do have wind coming right to left. Medium distance plus 20%, and if you do have a crosswind instead of a tailwind, you do go with 2 bars of topspin. If you do have a headwind, I would recommend to go with 3 to 4 bars of topspin, depending on the strength. So hole number 8 has got a revamp, and here you can see that they have now added a bunker where we usually have the second bounce in the rough, and also they have made it a much longer way for us to get to green. Here I'm using a power 1 ball, max topspin 1 bar left spin with the big topper level 3. I can say that you can play this shot with whatever big topper you may have. I'm looking for the second bounce to be approximately 2 rings, or like 1.5 to 2 rings before the rough, like the second bounce. Then I'm adjusting max plus 30, so 30% over adjustment is what I'm looking for, not to push up. And my plan here is to have the ball to bounce on the fairway, bounce to the second fairway, and then over the rough and roll to green. Now it doesn't really go exactly as I wanted to, but it goes kind of what I wanted to because we roll out on the fairway. So even if I clip the rough or not, I would, however, definitely recommend to do with a play like this, because if we clip the rough or not, we're still gonna have a wedge slash, putt towards the pin. If we do have a direct tailwind and we do have a club like the Apocalypse, especially the Apocalypse with, backspin, then we can curl it around and go to green. I do think that's possible with the rock and the quarterback as well, depending on what type of wind we are having. But with a direct tailwind, I do think we can do that using a power 5 ball, or maybe even a power 4 or a power 3. But I'm gonna show you this shot again because it's an interesting one. It's a double bounce, technical one, but very important to leave the second bounce short of the rough there on top, because if we do aim just close to the rough, what will happen then? The thing that will happen is that we will have a slight extended ball guideline with a northeast wind. In a complete north wind, we will have a much more extended ball guideline, and then we will clip the rough with the second bounce and roll into the bunker, and then the opportunity for an eagle will be much more difficult. If we do have a headwind and we can't really do anything of the 2 things that I just explained, then we have to lay up on the right side of the fairway. We can try to go as far down as possible, and then from there we're gonna have to shoot with a short iron towards the pin. Not saying that that's going to be impossible to get an eagle, but oh my god, compared to how this hole was before, it's a massive improvement in difficulty on this short par 4. Second shot, you can see I play with a rapier level 4, and honestly though, if you're an end-bringing guy like myself, you don't want to find yourself in a situation like this, as oh my god, it's so hard to adjust this one properly. And I'm gonna miss this one with this crosswing, not really knowing if I was correct with my adjustment or not. Obviously I wasn't correct with it, but not knowing that from the start. So here, definitely choose the wedge that do give you the absolute best ball guideline and also accuracy if that's possible. So in a lower level wedges like the rapier level 4, it might even be better to play with endbringer level 1 or even a low level firefly to give you the ball guideline. So, for hole number 9, they have made a change on the right side and also a little bit by the green. But I'm still going to play this one exactly the same way I've done before. Maximum distance with a 20% over adjustment for the drive, and there you can see the changes in the fairway to the right when I zoomed out. 3 bars of side spin to the right, 4.5 bar topspin in tailwind. In crosswind, I would recommend to go with 6 bars of topspin if possible, and in headwind, I would recommend to go with as much topspin that you possible can. Apply a tiny bit of curl to the right, don't over curl it, because the wind was definitely pointing to our favor there. But if we do have a wind coming right to left, I would recommend to go with 3/4 of a ball outside the adjustment ring to the right. Otherwise, a little bit like here in the video will be totally fine. Second shot is going to be played with the sniper, and the sniper, even though you have it in level 8 plus here, even though you don't see my plus yardage, I am very close to maximum distance here. And we will play red ring by the rough line, 3 bars of side spin to the right, and in headwind I apply 1 bar of topspin. If we do have a crosswind, I'm going to apply half a bar of topspin. If we do have a tailwind, I would go half a bar to 1 bar of a backspin. The most important part here is to not clip the rough with the second bounce. And as they have changed the green area here, where they have more open spot there to the right, that means that with a great right, where you usually clip the rough with the second bounce and roll out for a wedge, then that is now a much safer shot. So just make sure you have the distance to bounce over. Unfortunately, with that great right means that we're obviously gonna miss the pin to the right. Perfect ball would have been close. And we're gonna look for the ball to bounce down to the green, then roll down towards the pin. This is a difficult one where we are many players that very rarely make albatrosses here. But don't get me wrong, it's definitely a possibility making an albatross on this par 5. But a good one to end it on the 9-hole course of a green point. Also in tournament is a nice hole to end it up with. Maximum distance, no elevation for the second shot, and that's it. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various type of wind. And please have in mind that you can send us an email to support@golfclashtommy.com at any point if you do have any type of questions. In the end of the video is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, and don't forget to join our Discord. Link to Discord in the description down below. Thank you for watching and good luck in your Golf Clash game.